stopped doing it because the career mode was very unbalanced on last year's game.
Mm-hmm.
This year's game.
Hello everyone, if you're just joining the stream, hopefully it should be up, question mark?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Yeah,
the computer is being very slow. Yeah, it's up, okay, cool. So, welcome everyone. Just post the stream in Discord. My internet is deciding now is a great time to not work. So hopefully the stream will be okay. What's this one? There we go. It's only my wireless Wi-Fi though. My PS4 is connected by LAN, so it should be fine.
Oh.
Right, Japan to start with. This is a very difficult track, especially on a 50%, but we're here on sprints today. But sometimes it can be a bit different. Sometimes the 50% can be difficult, more difficult for some drivers because I know it is for me. Keeping that consistency for longer is much harder for some drivers. But some drivers thrive at 50% and don't like 25% because you have to push for longer and there's less chance to make up ground. So yeah, we're certainly seeing which ones of those two types our drivers are this first season of ESRL Sprint. But it's heavy rain in Japan, Sumo. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, mate?
Wow. We've not been to Japan in real F1 for a very long time. I think the last time we had some conditions like this, I think FP1 or FP2 were cancelled, or qualifying was pushed back to the Sunday, if I remember rightly. They had a big storm. If I'm remembering things correctly. But anyway, yes, Suzuka, a very tricky circuit, and the rain is just going to make it even more tricky, as there'll be a lot less grip, a lot less traction for the drivers to find out there, especially through those S's. Those curbs can be unforgiving. The curb at turn 3, curb at turn 2. I mean, there's so many corners in that section.
Yeah.
Dunlop's very tricky. You don't even have to touch a curb. If you get the traction all wrong up through that left-hander, then it's all wrong. And then there's the Degners. You can be as committed as you like through Degner 1 and 2, but they will spit you out if you don't hit them just right. And then there's even that hairpin. That'll get you as well on the exit, as we see Motto Perez take a trip on the grass, which will not help his tyres at all. Then we got the spoon curve, another tricky corner. It's just a circuit of tricky corners. I think the easiest corner on this track is 130R.
Yeah, which is ironically the one that everyone seems to talk about the most on this track. Yeah, I mean, we've got one hell of a championship fight lined up today. NER Ayrton isn't here, so he is pretty much out of the championship fight as a result. But we have, as you can see, reverse grid of the championship standings for those who are here. So Amir is currently the championship leader with 125 points, but Rick right behind him on 122. And then there's a big gap to Avi with 107. So Avi is going to need a few bad races for his teammate and Rick to get himself in this championship fight. And just as I say that, Rick has been disqualified from the formation lap. So I'm not sure how that happened. But yeah, must have been a collision between the two, which is odd because there's a car between them. But anyways, I'm not sure how that would have happened. But anyway, yeah, it's a close championship fight between those two at the back of the grid.
Yeah, it certainly is. I expect a fierce fight as they work their way up through the field to try and get the best of the point system here in ESRL. Very good races in their own right. Rick's doing very well on a excuse me, on no assists, or elite racing as it's called over here in ESRL at the moment. And I think I'd expect to see the drivers go from the start to finish on these wet tyres, although there might be the odd driver who may take a chance on intermediates, but I think it would be against the general consensus.
Yeah, we'd have to have the rain ease off towards the end of the race for anyone to try that, which it doesn't look like it's doing at the moment. And in a 25% race, of course, there's less time for that to happen. So I think you might be right. I think this is going to be wet all the way. But everyone's lining up on the grid now as we wait for the lights to come on.
Well, I'm riding on board with our wet weather master Tier. See how he gets on.
Here we go. 5 red lights. And we're underway for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's a good start from Aces, but he gets a terrible second phase, and Scott takes the lead of the race after a little bit of snap of oversteer from Aces, and they pile into turn 1. There's a spinner back there. I think that was Ayrton 2. There was a bit of contact between them. It looked like there would be 3 wide into turn 1 back in the midfield. But we've got to keep an eye on so many places because anything could happen at any moment in these conditions. We've got so many cars side by side through sector 1, which you wouldn't expect as Tier stays in P7 for now. Scott has spun as well. He's down to the back now. So we've got a 8-7 car train as Aces loses out to everyone. I'm not sure what happened to the Mercedes, but he's down to P8, and there's so many cars between each other. But Lifebout now has a 1-second lead, but he goes too deep, and Simps now takes the lead of the race. He's up 6 places from his starting place. What a start for the Ferrari. And Lifebout down to P2. But he's still up 2 from his qualifying. Nath Clark and Rick side by side still as they go through. Nath Clark takes the position for now, but wow, what a bit of battling that was between those two.
Yeah, certainly Tier had a fairly decent start where he got swamped and hounded off the circuit as he does so at Spoon Curve. We've seen him head drop about 3 places now. But I was riding on board with Tier and had the best view of Ayrton 2's spin. I think he got hit by Avi or maybe Monty Perez, which caused him to go round, and Tier very narrowly avoided contact.
Oh, there's side by side into the final bit. It's final chicane. Rick had a think about making it 3 wide and thought that's not a good idea and backed out at the last minute. Simps sets the fastest lap, of course, but Rick still on the back of this train. He is ahead of his championship rival, though, which is crucial. Amir into the pits, so he must have sustained damage. He'll be hoping for a safety car as Nath Clark gets his way into 3rd place from Moti Perez, who Avi still hasn't been able to get past. I don't know how Nath Clark made the double overtake there, but it must have been one hell of a move from the Alfa Romeo. Simps and Lifebout lead by a 2.5 seconds from Nath Clark, but I'm sure Nath will be looking to get up to them very quickly because he is a very fast driver.
Yeah, Amir came in. He's had a wing change on that Red Bull, so there's definitely damage on the car at the moment, but the driver's doing very well to navigate these conditions. Ace is looking very racy. He's all over the back of Rick because I say that Rick gets some wing damage. I think I saw an end plate coming off of yeah, it was Rick. End plate damage on that Ferrari.
Oh no. So the championship rivals have both dropped to the back of the grid as Avi gets past Moti Perez further up through the hairpin. They're still side by side, but Avi has made the move and he's up into P4 and should be charging after the top 3 as Lifebout seems to have made a huge mistake. He's down to P3. We've got someone in the wall further back. That's Amir. Amir has spun again. He is really not having a good time in these wet conditions. And he's going to, I think, stay at the back. He's going to pray for a safety car because at the moment he is nowhere near. Even his championship rival, who's got damage, is going to come out of the pits well ahead of him. So, yeah, disaster for Amir in this race. And, yeah, damage control mode for him.
Yeah, certainly. It doesn't look like damage on Amir's car, but that can be deceiving. It could be olive green damage on that front ring, just the lightest or so. Is Rick staying out? No, he has come in to get that wing changed.
Aces with a wing change as well, so some damage to the Mercedes. Ayrton 2 up into P7. as Avi now on the back of Lifebout, looking to get past the Mercedes as soon as he can, because of course with Rick and Amir both at the back, there's a chance here for Avi to gain some massive ground in the championship. He's currently around 20 points behind. If he can come second in this race, that would be a massive gain for the Red Bull, and it would get him back into this fight. So he's just looking to be making no mistakes from now on, get past Lifebout as soon as he can, and then just sit there, try and catch up to the top two, but just make sure he stays on that track.
We're a little bit staticky there, Ghost, as Avi gets a much better exit out of the hairpin, side by side with Lifebout. He goes, and I think that's the move done as they come across the hill. It is. What a opportunistic move from Avi there to get past the Mercedes. Lifebout clearly struggling now in these wet weather conditions.
Absolutely, as Scott is under pressure from Rick now. Down the inside goes the Ferrari. He takes P9, and he needs every point he can get right now, the Dutchman, to try and get into that championship lead and not lose too many points to Avi, who is past Lifebout now into P3, as you said. Look at that, the top three all up 6 positions from their qualifying spot within 3 laps. So what a brilliant start it has been for those three, as Tier gets himself a 3-second time penalty.
Oh, this has been brewing for a little while, but Nath Clark has closed that gap to Simps and will be looking to try and see if he can't get ahead of the Ferrari driver and take the lead of this race. For the moment, he's closed up that gap quite quickly, I must say, so he's enjoying this wet weather.
Yeah, we know how fast Nath Clark is. He was leading the championship before last week, but to the races, so struggled. Is that Aces that's gone for another spin. He's down to P10, and I don't know if he's going to come into the pits. No, he stays out, so still ahead of Amir, but for how long? That Red Bull is now not far behind. As Rick now up into P8, looking to salvage as many points as he can, as Nath Clark nearly goes into the back of Simps at the hairpin. Clearly some breaking point differences between the two.
Yeah, certainly had to go very deep into that beginning part of the corner not to hit the back of the Ferrari, as Aces has gone for another spin, and that's allowed Amir to get past the Mercedes. It's a very tricky circuit, Japan, in dry conditions. Just imagine how much more trickier it gets in these. This circuit really does separate the boys from the men.
Especially with no assists.
Yes.
It must be an absolute nightmare. As Tier gets himself another 3-second time penalty. He wasn't the last one about 20 seconds ago. But here he goes, he's gone for it.
He's going on the outside of the final chicane at the moment, takes the inside, a little bit of contact. They're still side by side, but I think Sims has got the better run on the exit of the corner, but I think Nath Clark might just out-drag him here as they come down towards turn 1 at the moment. They're going to go side by side. No, Nath Clark sits in the back, sits in the slipstream of Sims for the moment. Doesn't quite go for the move.
Very sensible from Nath Clark. You do not want to be sending it into turn 1 in Japan in the wet. It's not going to work. Looks like Aces has gone for yet another spin. He's really not having a good time right now. But Nath Clark still sticking behind Simps, but Avi 3.3 seconds behind, and that gap is only coming down the more these two fight. Yeah, the Red Bull not out of it yet, and if anything happens between these two, he will be there to pounce and take maximum points today.
Yeah, he certainly will. It's the closest battle, I think the only battle on track.
Oh, here we go.
But there goes Simps. Horrible exit. There goes Nath Clark, sorry, horrible exit from Simps, which let Nath Clark just slip down the inside of the Ferrari on the exit there.
Yeah, it was a little mistake from the Ferrari. Just went too wide and nearly goes into the wall there. Just pressed his overtake button in an attempt to stay with the Alfa Romeo, but massively overcooked it. Nearly into the barrier, managed to save the car luckily as he goes very wide at Spoon. Aces has retired now. Is that in the pit lane? I can't tell. I can't see his dot on the map. Yeah, Simps still sticking behind Nath Clark, but for how long? That Alfa Romeo looks like he had a massive pace advantage over the Ferrari, and I think he is going to make it count here. Still a long way to go though, and in these conditions on this track you can't take anything for granted, as Amir sends it down the inside of Scott into the hairpin and gets himself into P9.
Yeah, it's all about it. Consistency becomes ever so much more important, especially in wet weather. You've got to be so smooth with all of your applications of brakes, throttle, or even just entering corners. Just one wrong move and the car will go on you. And the consistent drivers really stand out in wet weather, I think.
They absolutely do. I'm just... as Simps goes very deep, and Avi is closing that gap. It's now under 2 seconds, so the Red Bull looking to get even more points over his championship rivals here and get himself into P2. Rick and Amir still sitting in P8 and 9, 20 seconds off everyone else. So unless there's more carnage, another incident, someone hits the wall or something, that's where they're going to stay today. So Avi needs to take advantage of this as Tier goes very deep, and that's a very simple overtake for Ayrton 2. Up to P6 goes the Williams.
I think Amir's doing a great job at the moment. He's really closing up and putting the pressure on Rick at the moment. He could even be on the back of that Ferrari by the end of the race if he keeps this pace up at the moment. But Avi, he's closing down as well, so 2 Red Bulls in hot pursuit of a Ferrari each. So this could turn out to be a decent battle between the 2 teams.
Certainly could. Since we have no battles on track at the moment, really, unless Tier catches up, as Dave Clark sets a imperious fastest lap of 42.4. That is, I mean, let's have a look. Fastest lap. That is 2 seconds faster than anyone else. That is just outrageous from the Alfa Romeo. And he is waltzing to another race win. It would be his 3rd win of the season, I believe. As Tier now right behind Ayrton 2, so he's not done yet, the Haas. Looking to perhaps make a move soon, but very tentative into turn 1 in comparison to the Williams. And yeah, Tier's going to have to fight very hard in order to get back that P6, and even then those 6 seconds of penalties are going to cost him over the line.
Avi was close. He's lost a bit of time over the last couple of sectors. I think that was just during 2 Degners there as they come around the hairpin, but he's going to try and close that up again, I'd imagine, very soon. He's putting the pressure on, which is it's the start of the end sometimes for the driver ahead if they can't quite handle it. Yep. You start trying to defend thin air, or you start thinking, oh, I need to be going faster, but that starts making you go slower. You've just got to drive the car, especially in these conditions. You can't be thinking about what the other guys are doing. You've got to focus on your own race, and Simps is trying to handle that pressure at the moment, but Avi now gets within under a second of the Ferrari, so the pressure continues to mount.
He needs this as well, the Red Bull. I'm just looking at the championship standings. So Avi is 18 points behind Amir. As it stands, Avi would get 18 points as Scott has retired from the session. Is that going to be a safety car? Is it going to bring Rick and Amir back into the race? As yellow flags, nothing.
Could do it to the exit of the hairpin. It is.
It is. Or is that a VSC? No, the safety car is coming out the pit lane. It's a full safety car. So Rick and Amir are back in this race, and Avi is going to be absolutely devastated to see that safety car come out, because I was just about to say, as it stands, so he's 18 points behind. He would get 18 points for finishing 3rd. And Amir would get 11 for finishing 9th. But if Avi came 2nd, he'd get 20 points. So he would have been well on for gaining, what would it be, around 9 points or so, which would put him right back in contention, less than 10 points behind. Oh. Rick has gone for Inters, which is one hell of a decision from the Ferrari driver. And hello Zach Sweeney in the chat, and I agree, Tier is overdriving the car, just trying to apply too much pressure onto Ayrton 2. And
has he got the same race number as me? I'm trying to see.
Who, Rick?
No, Tier. No, 87. I always get. It always looks like a 9 from a distance. on that rear fin, but it's number 87. I mean, I don't have ownership over that number, but you know, don't pick my number.
I'm gonna ride on board with Rick for a while just to see how those Inters are handling. I think it's too wet for Inters. Simps comes into the pits, so does he think it's Inter weather as well? Both Ferraris into the pits. That promotes Avi to P2. It's intermediates for both Ferraris. That's a massive risk. Where's Simps going to come out of the pits?
Lifeout's in as well.
Oh, interesting. Is it Inter weather? Is it actually Inters?
New set of wets.
Okay.
From Mercedes.
Okay.
I'm not sure that rain is coming down very heavy at the moment.
Where's Ayrton 2? Ayrton 2 is in, Tier is in, everyone's coming in. Are they all coming in for intermediates? This could get very interesting towards the end, if so. Moti Perez is on a fresh set of wets. Ayrton 2, what's he gone for? Let's see, what have the Williams pit crew got? They have a set of Inters. No, it is wets, you're right. Inters for Tier. Yeah. So that promotes Amir up to P6 with all those pit stops, and Avi is going to be absolutely gutted to see all of this because he really could have made a huge dent in that championship. But yeah, that safety car really has cost him big time. Rick is still at the back though, so good news for good news for the championship leader. 2 cars between him and his nearest rival. Lifebout gets a time penalty under the safety car, which he is going to be kicking himself for.
Scott's in the chat. He became a bit overconfident. It's very easy to do. I mean, the exit of that hairpin is tricky in the dry. I think. So in the wet it all just becomes much harder, and it's very easy to get into a groove in the wet and think, oh, maybe I can push a little bit more, maybe I can get a bit earlier on the throttle here. But the minute you start trying to get experimental, that's when you start opening up that margin for error.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only 4 laps to go once they cross the line here, and I don't imagine the safety car will be coming in on the next lap. Well, I mean it could do, depends how quickly Rick catches up, but it will be close, so we're either going to get 2 or 3 laps of racing at the end here. But Simps is the one to watch on the intermediate tyres, running in P3. Has he made the right choice, or is it going to be an untimely end to his race, I wonder?
I'd imagine it coming next on the end of this lap, perhaps. Again, depending, I think Avi's only just caught the back of Nate Clark as they've come into turn 1, so I guess Simps will start slowing up as well, and I think the safety car's rather slow around here. Yeah, Zach Scott, long way away from his sprint season 3 days. It certainly is. I don't think I was around that season. I think I was in 2 races and didn't finish either. So, didn't score any points that season, but yes, I mean, switching your settings and going over to Elite must be quite the shift, and I think Scott's not had the best run of this game. It's going to be a different beast next year's game, so hopefully Scott's back up in there challenging, because he is a great driver to have toward the front of the grid. I've had many a great battle with Scott, and hopefully we can see some decent shake-ups, you know, because of the like of Ayrton. Plumb last.
Yeah, hopefully a fresh start for Scott for sure with the next game. And I wouldn't read too much into earlier Scott. It was Baku, and I mean, coming into Baku and turning the line on, it doesn't give you as much of an advantage as you think. So I wouldn't read too much into that. You were, I remember when you came in France for that Tier 1 race, and you turned the line back on, and you were rapid in that race. So the pace is definitely there, mate. When you have the line on, it's just a struggle with elite settings. It will be in this lap, which is a very late call from the race director, but it has been made, and Nath Clark will lead us off. I'm going to ride on board with Avi. Rick and Tier have somehow swapped places. Hopefully that doesn't cause a glitch or anything. But yeah, Avi Got to watch out, though, for that Ferrari behind on the intermediate tyres. Is it the right decision? We're about to find out. We'll have 3 laps of racing as Nath Clark gets us underway. Avi gets a terrible exit, and Simps already going round the outside in the final corner. But Avi has kept place for now. But is Simps going to have another go into turn 1? He's going to have the ERS. He's going to go round the outside into turn 1. Surely not. What a camera shot this is as Avi takes the inside line. Simps tries to go all the way around, and now he's under pressure from Lifebout as Simps goes deep and he loses 2 places in one corner. Moti Peretz is into P3. That's not something I thought I'd say today.
Simps on the outside of the S's with Lifebout on
what
those
a move that is. Those Inters clearly the right tyre at the moment, but has he got enough time as Ayrton loses it and he's collected Rick, which is awful for the Ferrari. Terrible luck for the Dutchman, but he's still in P7. He's still in the running as Simps tries desperately to get back past Moti Peretz, but it's a 1.1 second gap up to Avi now already. Simps has made the move after a mistake from the Alpine, and now he needs to close that gap. 1.3 seconds. He's got 2.5 laps to go as Avi takes a very wide line through the hairpin. This is not over yet for P2.
I think the tyre advantage is marginal perhaps at this point. I'm not sure. I saw Rick, I was running on board with Rick on the restart and he was a little bit slippy coming out of the hairpin, but perhaps that's lack of warmth in those tyres. So perhaps over the next couple of laps Simps might close up, and he's looking like he's gonna.
Yeah, he's already right behind the Red Bull. This is crucial for Avi. Remember, he needs to finish as high as possible if he wants to get himself back in this championship fight. But with his teammate up to P5 already, the championship leader has massively benefited from that safety car as Rick gets past Lifebout. That clearly those Inters really working. Lifebout struggling on those wets. Fastest lap for Nath Clark again, but here comes Simps on the intermediate tyres. Is he going to make a move into turn 1? Not quite this time. Avi.
Side Amir and Moti Peretz into turn 1, and it's Amir gets ahead just about. Moti Peretz tries to find a way underneath the Red Bull, but Amir holds tight on that inside line and gets the place.
It's been great driving from Emir to get back in this, but I mean, there's absolutely no doubt that he has been incredibly lucky with that safety car, because after the extra spin he did under no pressure when he was at the back earlier, he must have thought his race was over, but that safety car has really saved him as Simps goes very deep. He was right behind Avi, but he's just lost a bunch of time there as he puts a couple of wheels on the gravel. Rick trying to get past Moti Peretz as well. He needs to limit the damage, and he could get past Amir if those Inters really are faster. He goes down the inside of the Alpine, gets on the puddles, so can't quite get in the right braking point as he goes side by side with Moti again. Round the outside goes the Ferrari. He's made the move. Those Inters much better at this point, but Simps is unable to take advantage. He's slipping and sliding all over the place is the Ferrari, and Avi is going to defend this with his life because he knows those extra points for finishing P2 are going to be crucial to his championship.
Red Bull versus Ferrari, just like it is in real life at the moment, with Rick trying to hunt down
he sent
his championship rival, and there goes Avi, Simps even. They're side by side, it's very close between the two of them. Simps looking to go around the outside of the final corner, and he does. He's just got the grip over the Red Bull and has got himself ahead. The racing has dried off that racing line for the moment, but here comes Avi again. He's looking towards turn 1.
He's
not quite going to get it, but Simps goes very deep. They're still side by side. They're going to be side by side on the exit and into the next set of corners. Simps down the inside on the curve and goes round the outside, leaving Avi just enough room, but not enough to get ahead.
How on earth are they both still on the track? Brilliant racing between the two of them. Very clever driving from Simps to scare Avi off the track into that final chicane, and now that is that done and dusted. I think Simps is much faster on those Inters. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, he will be comfortably P2 today, and Avi is going to think this is a massive missed opportunity. He is going to be cursing that safety car because he was really on for P2 today.
Rick has set fastest fastest sector 1 even, and it's all over the back of Amir now, so this could be another overtake from on a Red Bull by a Ferrari car. They're coming up toward the spoon curve now. Those intermediates have really come alive in these dying stages of the race at the moment. and Amir has not stopped, so those wet tyres are really feeling the pressure, and Rick is all up in the gearbox of that Red Bull, and it's going to be a drag race all the way down to 130R and toward the chicane.
It's the two championship rivals. There's 3 points between them. This could be a 2-point swing if Rick can get ahead. Into 130R they go. Amir sweeps around the outside comfortably. Rick, is he going to send it into the final chicane? He tries it desperately, but Amir stands firm. Brilliant driving from the Season 1 ESRL champion, and he takes P3 from this race. Sorry, P4. Rick is going to be gutted that he couldn't get past, because that's another point lost. He will be 4 points behind going into race 2 today. But Avi is going to be the one that's going to be most disappointed, I think. He could have gained 9 or 10 points today on those two championship protagonists. But as it stands, he has only gained 2 on Amir. So he's going to be gutted with that. Still P3 for him though, and those inters really were fast at the end because Simp set the fastest lap, I believe. So yeah, clearly the right decision from those guys to go on the inters, an inspired decision in fact, because no one else wanted to risk it. So great stuff from them.
Yeah, certainly they took the risk and it definitely paid off. That safety car really played into the hands of our championship leaders at the moment and really brought them back in. Avi will be ruining the decision that safety car did end up out on circuit. Hello, Lifebout. Understeered into Simps, couldn't do anything about it. That's a shame for you there, Lifebout. Hopefully the next race goes a bit better for you. Hopefully you won't hear from me again tonight. It's always nice to have you in the live chat, Scott. Sometimes it's sooner, sometimes it's later. You never know. But there you go, I'll let you run through the grid, Ghost.
Yeah, so Nath Clark takes the race win. He was clearly the fastest car on track today, but he didn't get the fastest lap because Simps with those intermediates just snatched it off him at the end. But Nath Clark was clearly by far the fastest in the full wet conditions. Avi will take P3, but he'll be gutted that he didn't gain more points on his championship rivals as Amir and Rick in P4 and 5 after all of that, which is just astonishing how they managed to do that. The safety car massively working out for them, but Rick will be disappointed that he couldn't get past Amir at the end. Moti Padet's P6 with Ayrton 2 in P7, Lifebout all the way down in P8 and Tier finishing a long way back in P9 with Scott and Aces unable to finish the race unfortunately.
At least Nath Clark's representing for us Brits. Us, at the front there winning that race, but we'll head into this intermission period where the grid is set up for race 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go and get myself a drink, so I'll be right back.
I lead every race and then bin it every time. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I remember a couple races ago, this is ages ago now, I remember putting it on pole position in Japan after coming into the qualifying session not being confident, and then on the third corner binned it, and that was it. That was the race done there, and I really had some promising pace at that track, so I can understand leading and then binning the race or binning the lead at that certain time Lifebout, but it will come eventually. Just keep at it and wait and see what happens. But yeah, make sure you've left a like on Ghost's stream, of course. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. All the support is very much appreciated by Ghost and myself as well, as our co-commentary duo continues to take the internet by storm. Good pace at Belgium, so hopefully no rain. Oh, Belgium. Hopefully no rain. Those are famous last words. 11 laps of Belgium though. So one safety car, and that's your race ruined, I think. Because you don't get many racing laps once the safety car comes out. A 25% race in Belgium. The safety car is incredibly slow around Belgium. However, it takes a long time for guys at the back to catch back up. Safety car's off. Oh. Oh, I guess just for Belgium then. That'll be interesting. Safety car off for Belgium. It's a wise decision, as like I say, the safety car does tend to ruin a 25% race at Spa-Francorchamps. But yes, we are going into the countdown now. Ghost should be back any moment. Well, everyone's readying up for getting ourselves ready to go underway. I hope everyone's pre-ordered their copy of F1 22. I know I have. Mine's not coming until the 2nd, which is a shame. But looking forward to next year's game. Hopefully it's finally. Well, I mean, I've been sort of sat around the midfield in terms of pace for a lot of my time, but hopefully I can get a little boost and be a bit quicker on next year's F1 game. But anyway, here we are then. Belgium, the longest circuit on the Formula One calendar. With, I don't think it's the longest lap time. I think it is actually. It's close with Azerbaijan actually. They're the two longest tracks on the F1 calendar, with obviously Belgium beating out Azerbaijan by a whole kilometre.
I'm back, refreshed and ready to go for the Belgian Grand Prix, which is a track I never want to see again after a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it's one hell of a track. Very, very difficult to keep the consistency on throughout the race. And in these reverse grid conditions, of course, the drivers at the back are going to have to drive exceptionally well to get themselves back up to the front. Only 11 laps in a 25% race, so if there is a safety car, I don't know if it's turned off actually. Scott might have turned it off. It's turned off. Thank goodness for that.
I had this conversation while you were gone, and Lifeboat informed me that for Belgium it's turned off, which is a wise decision, as you don't get much racing once the safety car comes out at a 25% race.
Lovely. Okay, good to know. But yeah, here we are. We're about to get underway for the formation lap. 20 seconds to go. Any predictions, Sumo, and anyone in the chat for the podium for this race?
Any predictions? Keep an eye on those Red Bulls and Ferraris. They've looked incredibly racy, especially in the last one. Nath Clark, very quick driver. He'll be one to watch as well. I'll be rooting for Lifebout because I want him to do well, as he's got a decent driving, decent position. But if I'm going to go for a podium prediction, Ghost, I'm going to say Ayrton 2 for the win, Ooh. Rick P2, and Near P3.
Interesting. Well, we've got the tyres on screen. Tia, Motiparet and Rick starting on the soft. Everyone else has started on the medium tyre, so that's going to throw a spanner in the works. No safety car, as you said, so if anything goes wrong, then there's no chance to get yourself back up. And also those different strategies are going to have to work, because if they don't, there's no way to correct them, as it were. So I wonder what is the better strategy. I think both tyres will last a really long time, so I think the medium runners will probably come in fairly early. I think actually the medium runners might come in before the soft runners. Because those softs will go forever, and the soft runners will want to stay on them for as long as they can. So I do think the medium runners will come in earlier than the softs, paradoxically.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, it's probably the best option they've got, but we'll wait and see as we come around to form up the grid. I'll just get all the rest of my bits and bobs up. Ace is disqualified, another disqualification, and Nath Clark as well.
Yeah, Nath Clark again getting disqualified in the formation lap, so a bit odd, but anyways. We're about to get lined up as we approach bus stop. It will be Tier on pole position with Lifebout just alongside. I got to say, I back Rick to win this race. I think Rick will win. And then Amir P2. No, Nath Clark P2, Amir P3. That's my prediction.
Alrighty then, well, we're lining up. I'm going to ride on board with the Dutchman, Rick, as he takes his spot on the grid. And we'll see if he can get the jump on Lifebout and Ayrton ahead of him, and maybe even Mopti Pretz as well. But he's got Amir lined up just alongside as well. Keep your eyes on.
Here we go. 3, 4, 5. Red light Zuba's just too late. We're off for the Belgian Grand Prix. Tier makes a brilliant start in the Haas. He is clean through into turn 1. No one challenging him at all. Rick has gone off. Oh, there's a huge crash at turn 1. Rick, Ace, Ayrton 2 and Lifebout all involved. Nath Clark is up to P2. How has he managed that? He started, what, P8? And he's already up 5 or 6 places. What a start from the Alfa Romeo, but it's Tier who leads by a huge distance at the start of this race. But here comes Simps. There you go. Down into the section, and Simps dives down the inside, and Avi tries to take advantage. There's more carnage at the back. Moti Petets looks like he's crashed as Simps takes P2. Avi down the inside of Aces versus Kings now into this long right-hander which seems to never end, and they come through No Name, and that is our order at the moment. It's Tier followed by Simps, and then Nath Clark in P3. What a start it was for him, but Simps goes very deep into Puon, and is this going to invite Nath Clark to go down the inside at the next corner? Maybe. He has a look, tries to scare Simps off the track but doesn't quite manage it as Avi tries to take advantage as well. It's all happening here in Belgium, but no moves being made at this time. But look how close Aces is to the back of that Red Bull as well.
Yeah, Aces seems a bit revitalised after that wet race in Japan. He's looking racy at the moment, and he's going side by side as they come down through Blanchimont now into this fast left-hander. They're still side by side. This is great racing between the two. Who's the latest on the brakes? Is Aces? Is it? No, it's Avi as well. They go around the outside, comes the inside for the next corner and forces Aces off the circuit. And Aces has no option but to yield.
Wow, incredible racing between those two. Avi into P4, but Aces has dived down the inside into turn 1. He's made it stick. Are they going to be side by side up Radion? We'll have to wait and see who's going to back out. Are either of them going to do it? They're still side by side. They're going to go for it through Radion, and there's contact, and Aces is off into the wall. He is out of this race. I think that'll be a safety car, but it was always a risk going side by side up Radion. There is a yellow flag. It doesn't look like the safety car's coming out, which is crazy. So, oh yes, it's turned off. Of course it is. Tier's gone. Oh no, the Haas. It was going so well. He was leading by such a big margin, but he's off the track and down to P8. Disaster for him. So it is Simps now that leads this race from Nath Clark. Avi and Amir, the two Red Bulls, consistent as ever in 3 and 4, with Rick 2.5 seconds back, trying his best to stay on level terms with them.
That was so unfortunate for Aces. It looked like it was going to stick between the two of them, but then at last moment there was a little bit of contact. Stewards might have a look at that one later as Tier's gone for a spin at Puon now as well. But I was riding on board with Rick. I saw exactly what happened. He got an incredible start, got straight past Moti Petets alongside with Ayrton as well, and looking to go up the inside of Moti Petets went to come around the outside of him, and he ended up getting pinched in between the two cars, which sent Moti Petets in a straight line, sent Rick in a straight line.
Overtake for the lead. Sorry to interrupt you, Sumo. As Nath Clark round the outside at turn 1. He leaves it though, and he's going to go for the switchback and try and get DRS up the hill. But no, it's Simps that's going to get the DRS as they come past detection point now. So the Ferrari is going to come back at the Alfa Romeo. But yeah, as you were saying, such a shame for Rick after a brilliant start, but that can happen, always happen at Belgium turn 1. Here they go, down after Radion, and Simps has got the DRS. He's straight through on the Alfa Romeo, takes back the lead of this race, and Avi is in this as well. Amir is also in this, the championship leader. He's looking to extend his lead over Rick, who is currently still sitting in P5, trying to catch up and hoping that all this battling results in a disaster for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, certainly so. Rick sat 2.7 seconds back and has now got a time penalty.
Oh no.
So that has made it even worse for the Dutchman.
Pushing too hard to catch back up. So he definitely needs a disaster to happen to Amir now. But I mean, we've commentated on Amir for a while. That man doesn't make mistakes, and when he does, he comes back from them very quickly. Just thinking back to that Silverstone race in Season 1, that was absolutely astonishing from Amir. Still his best race in this league to date. Yeah, that man, consistency personified, and it's really going to take something crazy to happen for him to not extend his championship lead today, you feel?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Amir's a champion for a reason. He's been able to win races and be consistent as well. Those two in those Red Bull cars, they've had a bitter rivalry with one another in the past and are now teammates. And they wouldn't show you their teammates sometimes when they race together on track, but they are. It's a bit like Verstappen and Ricciardo back in 2018 in those Red Bull cars, but Amir is definitely not one to make too many mistakes too often.
Absolutely. Nath Clark had a little go up the hill. He had a little look, but Simps, undeterred, took the normal racing line. And in fact, the Ferrari has more ERS in the tank than the Alfa Romeo, so not something you usually see. Nath Clark pushed like this on this grid, because when he is on it, he really is on it. That Alfa Romeo, but at the moment he's really being pushed. Avi trying to stay in contact. He's made a mistake, in fact, Nath Clark, and he's now going to be under huge pressure from the Red Bulls. He's lost out that 1 second range to the Ferrari, so if he can't get it back before before Eau Rouge, then he is going to have huge trouble to get back into this race lead, and he's going to be under massive pressure from these two Red Bulls. Avi looking very racy today. He's already been, well, he might already feel cheated out of a result last time out, but Nath Clark dives into the pits. He's gone for the undercut after his mistake. Amir does the same thing as Simps sets the fastest lap up ahead, and Avi now is going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got to pit next lap and to not risk that undercut, but yeah, he's going to have a really tough time after those two cars have gotten that jump on him.
Yeah, I was right on board with Nath Clark just as it happened, and he just got a little bit too much curb as he went into the Campos chicane there and almost lost the car. Did well to keep it, but it'll be interesting to see how the pit stops begin to unfold as they've just started. Motzi Peretz now into the pits for his stop for this race, and it'll be interesting to see if Rick can push, but that time penalty will be a hamper on him.
Absolutely. Lifebelt sets fastest lap on those fresh softs, proving that starting on the mediums was probably the way to go, as he's going to have lightning pace at the second half of this race, as is everyone else, but he gets a 3-second time penalty, which is not going to help his cause. Moti Peretz comes out P10, well behind Lifebelt and Scott. Well behind, actually. I didn't think he'd be that far down. But yeah, the Alpine has not had the best of races here in Belgium. Simpson Avi, that gap has stayed fairly constant this lap, I think. It's always been sort of around the 1.8 mark. Maybe a hint of Avi catching up, but at the moment, I think they're both going to be in. Simps is in. What about the Red Bull? Yeah, they're both in. Don't tap the wall. Very easy to do on this pit entry. I've seen it happen. But they're both in. No time penalties for either of them. And where are they going to come out? I'm going to ride on board with Nath Clark. And watch the right-hand side of your screen, because he's coming up to turn 1. And Simps is going to be coming out of the pit lane. Around about now. Here he comes to turn 1. Watch the right hand side. Where is the Alfa Romeo going to be? Where's the Ferrari? There he is. So Nath Clark makes that undercut work, takes the what is the net race lead, and he's over a second ahead. So that undercut around this track, because the track is so long, it's so powerful.
Yeah, it certainly is, but Simps already catching back up in towards DRS, so not too much has changed, just a swap of positions between the two of them. Nath Clark has the advantage for now, but those newer tyres on the Ferrari will come into play, but he does make a little mistake coming out of Les Combes there.
Yeah, a little mistake from the Alfa Romeo. The two Red Bulls swapped places in the meantime. Avi getting past his teammate as Simps gets a 3-second time penalty. So as it stands, that would drop him well out the podium places to P5. So he needs to really find some pace in these latter stages. Rick on the mediums, taking the esports line. It's not really helping him, as he's 7 seconds down on the wrong tyre. And I mean, I think he's going to lose more points in that championship fight in this race today. So which would drop him, I think, 5 points down with 1 week to go, 2 races to go. Sorry, 1 race. It will be a 50% around Brazil. I forgot about that. I think that was it anyway, unless I'm thinking of a different league. But anyway, Ayrton 2 heads into the pits on those mediums. He's had enough. So Nath Clark takes the race lead. But Simps is sticking with him. He's gotten back in that 1 second range, and the Ferrari is going to have DRS after Radion. So very good pace from Simps. Sorry. And Avi trying to stay within 1 second, but I don't think he got DRS there, which is massive in terms of this podium battle. He didn't. So Simps, massive advantage on this straight, and Avi's really lost out there with a poor exit out of turn 1.
Well, the closing speed wasn't enough to get that move done at the moment, but it's closed him up nicely. A good run through Les Combes for Simps is going to keep him in contention. Just needs to do it well through Brussels. He brakes very late and takes a very tight line onto that, almost onto the apex there. And Nath Clark takes a very wide one through No Name there. And Simps is definitely putting on the pressure now on that Alfa Romeo. But that 3 seconds is what's going to give Nath Clark the margin and the distinct advantage.
Life belt, another time penalty in the meantime, but yes, Simps is really closed up to this Alfa Romeo. Nath Clark clearly not enjoying this Belgium track, and Avi has now closed up because of this battle, but he needs to stay within 1 second, and he's only got 30% ERS left, so he's spent an awful lot to get back with these top two. Nath Clark and Simps on about 50% each. But of course, Simps, with that time penalty, he's going to need to find something special or a massive mistake from Nath Clark in order to get this race win, as he makes a mistake into bus stop, actually. I think he got on the grass a bit on entry as Amir sets the fastest lap.
Yeah, those Red Bulls will take every opportunity they can if Simps provides it to them. But right now, all they need to do is stay where they are within 3 seconds of that Ferrari, and they'll find themselves occupying second and third on the podium.
Here comes Simps. He's going to have the DRS. Does he have enough pace this time to send a move into Les Combes? Here he goes. Is he going to make a move? No, he's going to stick behind the Alfa Romeo for now. It's only around 3.5 laps to go in this race, so he's running out of time. Ayrton 2 gets another 3 seconds further down. The only drivers not to have a penalty so far are Nath Clark and the two Red Bulls, so really testament to how well those three are driving. But yeah, Simps really gonna lose out with that penalty as it stands.
Yeah, certainly so. Unless he can pressure Nath Clark or the Red Bulls into penalties during these last few laps of the race. Gets a bit too much curb on the second part of Campus there. That will unsettle the car, and into Stavolo as well, getting all over those curbs at the moment. But he will start closing up on the run down towards Blanchimont. Will the Ferrari, and will look for a better exit out of bus stop this time.
Absolutely, that's what he needs. He lost too much time out of bus stop on the last lap. What's it going to be this time? Brakes normally, and it looks like he's gotten through all right. But this exit can be treacherous. He needs to not push too hard, and he's done well there. So within range of the Alfa Romeo, and we could see an overtake into Lecombe this time. Simps needs a good exit out of turn 1 though. He's gotten one, but he's actually still lost a fair bit of time to the Alfa Romeo. Nath Clark really pushing hard to keep this race lead because he knows, and Simps gets another time penalty at Eau Rouge. So he is well out of this fight now. But Nath Clark knows if he lets the Ferrari through, he may still have the net race lead, but he'll then be vulnerable to the Red Bulls. So he knows he needs to keep that Ferrari behind to give himself the best chance of winning this race.
Yeah, he certainly does, and these guys have stayed together throughout from start to finish of this race, more or less. And Simps has really added to the anguish of Ferrari at the moment, with Rick being so far down, and the penalty on Simps, who's looked very racy around this track.
Absolutely. The Constructors' Championship is also in the balance between Ferrari and Red Bull, but as you say, as it stands, Red Bull are going to gain a significant advantage. We've got yellow flags. That's Lifebout, who's gone for a spin further back. So unfortunate for him, he drops to P9 as Simps now within 3/10 of Nath Clark. I think we're going to see a move soon, and Nath Clark is going to have to be looking in his mirrors for the Red Bulls as well, because those are the cars he's really racing. Simps is well out of it with his 2 3-second time penalties, but Nath Clark goes very wide through Blanchimont and loses out there across the grass. Gets a better exit out of bus stop, but Simps is right behind. All he needs is a good exit out of turn 1, and he is going to make that move, but that's very late braking, but he's made it stick, and I think this is going to be it. And hello to Aces in the chat. Sorry that happened, but thank you for the compliment on the comms.
Here he comes then, Simps. He's going to have much better closing speed. That DRS is now open, and you can see it's given him. Nath Clark's not got a lot of battery left to use, but I don't think he'll fight it, but Simps doesn't go for the move.
Yeah, he turned off DRS.
As he gets close enough, it's interesting. Perhaps on the final lap is when he's going to pounce. It won't make too much of a difference, as he still has that penalty to deal with. And Nath Clark very deep into Brussels there. Oh, just kept it. Simps was looking for the opportunity to get past him at that moment, and now they run down towards Pouon. Amir's very close to the back of Avi at the moment, but these Red Bulls have held station, have been very, very patient with this battle ahead of them.
Scott, unfortunately, with a spin at turn 1 further back, so he drops to P9. Yeah, as you say, the 2 Red Bulls still looking very dangerous there. If anything happens, they will be ready. But yeah, very odd decision from Simps. I feel like perhaps he's thinking of Rick here. He wants to make sure that the 2 Red Bulls lose as many points as possible, and if he overtakes Nath Clark, that's going to leave the Alfa Romeo vulnerable to the Red Bulls. So maybe he's thinking, I'm not in contention to win this race because of my penalties, so I'm just going to let Nath Clark win or overtake him on the last lap, so there's no opportunity for the Red Bulls. I think that's what his plan is, because that's what we're on right now. It's lap 11 of 11, and Simps is using that ERS. Finally, he's got 20% more in the tank than the Alfa Romeo, and I think he's going to make the move here. They come through Radillon and down towards Lecombe. He's got the DRS open. Is he going to use ERS? Not quite, but he doesn't need it. Down the inside he goes. It's done before the corner. Simps into the race lead, but on penalties he's going to lose out, and now he just has to hope that Nath Clark holds on to deny the Red Bulls as many points as possible.
Yeah, certainly. So it's smart thinking for the team game from Simps. He's just got to make sure he doesn't make too many more mistakes, but he's not going to get anywhere with that penalty. But it will be a decent P4 for the Ferrari and will help Rick going into the final round.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also wants to make sure Amir finishes behind Avi, but he has no way of ensuring that. Scott's retired. Oh no! On the last lap, he will still be classified at least. But yeah, oh, you hate to see it. But the two Red Bulls very close together. Amir is using ERS, so he's going to fight his teammate here. Is he going to make a move into bus stop? This is for the championship. This is important stuff. As many points as he can get. As you get more points for the podium, of course. They're going to be side by side into bus stop. Amir round the outside of his teammate and down the inside of the next corner. What a move from Amir as they both go over to the line. Amir gets P2. That is massive for the championship. What a move that was on his teammate. Avi has to settle for P3. Simps drops to P4. But Nath Clark, a very deserving race win after keeping that Ferrari at bay for a really long time. But what an important overtake that was from Amir right when he needed to do it to get as many points as he can in this championship fight. He makes it count, and that is why he is a champion.
Yeah, certainly. So that was a great move round the outside, and then gain the inside on the next part of the corner there. And definitely no love lost between those two drivers of those Red Bull cars. Perhaps Avi was trying for a little multi-21 moment in that other Red Bull, but to no avail.
To no avail indeed. Motorpalettes comes across the line to end off this race. And no crashes before the finish line this time, as we saw in Tier 2 in ABP earlier this week. But Nath Clark, deservedly driver of the day. Yeah, a great day for Red Bulls, for the Red Bulls in general, but it's in particular to Amir, who got incredibly lucky with that safety car in Japan. And then in this race, puts a fantastic move at the last corner on his teammate to snatch 2 more points in the championship battle.
Yeah, certainly Rick's going to have a lot of work to do at Brazil next time out. And that is a 50% race, so no sprint, but it will be reverse grid, I imagine. But great job from Amir, who places one hand on the trophy.
Fastest lap as well, so an extra point going his way. Yeah, I believe that means Rick P5, he'll score 15, Amir will score 21. And there were 5 points between them, I think, before this race. Could have been, I think, maybe 4 points between them. So Amir will now be 10 points clear going into the final week of the season. But it's Nath Clark who takes the win. With Amir in P2 with the fastest lap, as we said. Avi in P3 loses out the last corner on second place. Simps P4 after penalties, could have been a win for him today. Rick down in P5, Ayrton 2 in P6, good result for him. Tier P7, Lifebout P8, Motorpalettes P9. Scott just about classified, but didn't see the checkered flag. And then Aces, of course, with that spectacular crash at Radion on lap 2.
Now there we go. Then that is the penultimate round then of an ESRL Sprint Championship. Just one round left to go, and a championship fight still to be decided between the Ferrari of Rick and the Red Bull of Amir. Great driving from everybody this evening, and some great battles were had on the track.
Absolutely. Avi's not quite out of it if Amir has a absolute nightmare next week, and Rick has a bad race as well, and Avi could still sneak into the championship lead, but he is going to need a miracle. He doesn't just need to drive well, he will need others to do badly, and that's not a situation you want to be in, or maybe it is because there's less pressure. But anyway, I don't know how Avi deals with pressure, but yeah, he's not quite out of it, but he will need some luck to go his way.
Yeah, certainly so, and that's the thing with motorsport, is it can turn any way or at any point really. 1 minute you can be thinking that you've not got the championship, and then for a moment clock starts going slowly and it all changes.
Absolutely, or Michael Massey decides that the safety car can come in a lap earlier than the rules say.
Yes.
But yes, anyways, we won't open that kettle of fish, and I think it's time for us to end. So a spectacular day of racing for ESRL. Will be the last week of the season next week before we move on to the new game F1 22. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too, Sumo. But
Certainly am.
But yeah, good to hear, and yeah, we'll see you then. But for now, have a good night. I've been Ghost.
And I've been Sumo.
And we will end off there. Cheers, guys.
Bye bye.